Story 1. Am I the only one who happens to come across this post at least once every 3 days? And each time I go through the comments, I realize how ugly I am, and it keeps getting worse every time. Story 2. I started a new job at the beginning of the pandemic, and they required that we follow whatever the recommended guidelines were, like wearing a mask. The vaccine came out and restrictions were lifted, and we no longer had to wear masks. Yay! The first day of not wearing one, a coworker does a double take. I asked him what was wrong, and he says, "Oh, nothing. I'm just surprised that that's what you look like." A few others also looked shocked and made the same comment. I look different without my mask. I do look a bit different than most of the people I work with, and I would say my eyes would be my best feature. My teeth aren't completely straight, but I didn't think I was ugly. Not until then. I really felt ugly because no one clarified if they didn't mean it in that way. Story 3. I should preface this by saying I've never thought I was attractive, but in my prime, I wasn't exactly the elephant man either. I was average then, maybe a 5 on a good day, below average now. But once upon a time, when I was in my mid to late teens, I went on a family vacation with my parents, my aunt, uncle, and cousin. We went to Florida, right near the beach, but on the second or third day, the weather was questionable and the ocean was choppy, so we set up shop at the neighborhood pool. Nearby, another group of people were swimming in this community pool. One was a very cute girl. I saw a strange bug moving near her and called out to watch out because I wasn't sure what it was. I moved and grabbed the creature and moved it safely away from the pool area. She thanked me and we began talking. I introduced her to my family, and later that night we took a fairly romantic walk on the beach where she became intimately involved with my cousin. As I was walking back to the house while they were actively engaging in affection and half-heartedly calling for me to come back, I just yelled over my shoulder, "A bike doesn't need 3 wheels." I figured it out then. Story 4. That being high maintenance makes you unique. For example, I work in a high-end restaurant and we have a regular who insists she's allergic to almost everything. I'm not exaggerating, we have her on file with all of her dietary restrictions, including the classics like gluten, dairy, meat, and more. But it gets ridiculous when we have to make her something that also excludes salt, sugar, butter, sulfites, dairy, oil, heat, allium, and any vegetable that's green. I'm 100% serious. Our chef has to come out and talk to her, per her request, to understand and accommodate her needs. I get the sense that she thinks it's charming, but the fact that she comes in with a different date every single time tells me that nobody is willing to put up with her behavior. Story 5. If you're a woman, and men don't smile or laugh back when you're being friendly or joking, just kind of stare through you like, get to the point. Why are you wasting my time? Story 6. The level of physical attractiveness of those who respond to your advances or feel comfortable making advances towards you compared to the responses of those you think are on par with you and completely reject you. Story 7. I am 35 and still single. Always told I am this amazing person with an amazing smile and amazing body, but never get asked out. Always told to smile. Seems like I do not catch anyone's eye. I might as well blend into the wallpaper. Story 8. I am aware I'm not attractive, and I think my first sign was seeing my family members tell me how cute I was as a child, then asking what happened. I'm not overweight or anything. I just never grew a jawline and have a lazy eye. Also, the general public doesn't really perceive me at all, but then I had a massive shock when I joined the ambulance service. In my ambulance uniform, all of a sudden, people were looking at me and then being overly nice to me, which I actually don't like at all. I'm glad I'm not pretty because that is very annoying, having people try to randomly have conversations with me when I'm trying to do things. Story 9. As someone who was obese his entire life and lost 100 pounds between the ages of 27 to 29, I went from being a 3 to a solid 7 in the looks department. I would tell the same jokes, stories, ideas, and people would pay attention, laugh, converse, flirt. Then, I slowly gained the weight back from 31 to 33, and am invisible again. I was angry for a long time that my personality hadn't changed as much, but people treated me way differently. However, I realized that it's evolutionary. I don't blame people nor society, but I do believe you can do something about it. Are you fat? Lose weight? Scrawny? Gain muscle? Bad hair? Pay a hairstylist once to find something that looks good. Got glasses? Get good frames. Clothes? Find things that fit. Boring? Pick up hobbies, read, do something, do anything. Social anxiety? Find help or do what I did, which is research and read a lot of self-help. Bad teeth? Save up for braces or Invisalign. We live in a time where so much is possible. There are no hacks. You build yourself, step by step, brick by brick, day by day. It's hard, so enjoy the process. Story 10. Attractive people don't work hard to hook up, have sex, or be in relationships. It just falls into their lap. I see it a lot with people in their early 30s. You are not young and cute anymore, and if you aren't wealthy, you better be ready to work and develop a kind personality like the rest of us. Story 11. Probably mainly just people not paying attention to you. When you walk into a room, do people stare? I feel like even moderately attractive people, maybe just women, get stares wherever they go. Story 12. I don't know what the signs are, but I know my ego gets way out of control if I let it. I will think I'm hot stuff, but I'm really just a big old bag of it. Story 13. When you have gone through at least 6 mirrors in about a month. Never thought I would say it, but I am tired of going to Kohl's or HomeGoods so much. Story 14. One sign might be if you rarely receive compliments or attention in social settings, even when you're dressed up or making an effort. It can be a subtle reality check that our perception of ourselves doesn't always match how others see us. Story 15. New acquaintances tend to involuntarily wince and briefly look away upon first meeting you. Once in a while, one of them may inadvertently let an "Oh God" or "Jesus Christ" slip out under their breath. Story 16. People are only interested in you for your body, but will never listen or engage with you past what they can get from you physically. For example, physical characteristics are more important than substance. Truly attractive people are social magnets and not just pretty. They're confident with a skill or art and disciplined in practicing it. They're usually talented, charming, and naturally magnetic. A silent confidence that is attractive. Story 17. Social media is a good barometer. If you have never gotten any unsolicited attention from a woman on there, you are probably not that attractive. To me, Facebook or Instagram has always been like shooting fish in a barrel. No need to even mess with dating apps. Story 18. Lazy eye, I'm in. It's really not that noticeable, but when it's been drilled into your head that you're cross-eyed your entire life, you see it worse than it is. Story 19. People just touch me all the time. It never used to happen when I was skinny, had wonky teeth, and a bad haircut. But now my arms are full of muscles, and I have a great smile. Folks seem to touch my arms and shoulders all the time. If folks are not making passing contact with you, you are not that attractive. Story 20. Strangers avoid eye contact and interrupt you a lot while being dismissive. When they do make eye contact, there is a slight sneer. Like one side, the tiniest bit of lip curl. It is supremely gross to see happen. Story 21. I know I'm not ugly, but men have rarely asked me out in public. It's not necessarily you. It's a strong possibility that they aren't as bold anymore. I really don't know anyone who's been asked out in public. Story 22. If you are alive now and have any social media, then you are either not as attractive or not as ugly as you believe you are. We are in the age of ego dystonia. Story 23. When I look in the mirror, I look drop-dead gorgeous. But if I stare at me for too long, I realize I have 2 different sizes of eyes, different shapes of eyebrows, and an uneven asymmetrical face and a big forehead. Story 24. My friend in high school, well over a decade ago, said straight to my face that I wasn't his type because I was visually offensive. I've thought about it often. Story 25. Most guys pretty much know where they stand when it comes to attractiveness. That is something you pick up on very early on in your life, at least in my experience. Story 26. I'm rather very aware. As someone who has had phases of being attractive and unattractive, it's eye-opening how differently people treat you in subtle ways. Story 27. You played hide and seek, and after 3 weeks in the closet, you began to understand. Alternatively, you passed out drunk and woke up wearing more clothes. in a capsule on a trajectory escaping the sun's gravity. Story 28. People always compliment my eyes. I get it. They're big, nicely shaped, full of naturally long eyelashes, and a nice shade of blue-gray. But it kind of feels like they're the only nice thing about me. Nobody ever says anything about my face, smile, or body. It's just the eyes, always the eyes. Also, I was bullied for years in school for being ugly, so I never really harbored any delusions of being hot. I'm often called unattractive person in social media arguments to shut me up when arguments run out. So, yeah, not hot, but damn. Story 29. If you've never had a real girlfriend before, my own cousin and our friends used to joke about how ugly I was. One of them once jokingly said, "You only love me for my body, because I used to be broke with nothing to do, no one to hang out with or anything, so I used to work out like all the time. I used to be hideous." My cousin has had like 3 to 4 different girlfriends while growing up, and I never even had one. Story 30. Well, I read the question as, "You may not be as attentive as you believe." After being very confused by the first answer of kids calling you ugly, I reread the question. In answer to the question I thought I read, I would have to point out everything that I just typed as Exhibit A for my inattentiveness. Story 31. Sometimes, if people don't seem interested in you or you rarely get compliments, it might mean you're not as attractive as you think. Attraction isn't just about looks. It's also how others respond to your presence and personality. Pay attention to how people act around you. Story 32. My ex-girlfriend was convinced she was the most attractive person around. She used to go out wearing neon pink, fluffy, high-heeled boots, paired with a denim jacket that had the sleeves cut off and these weird fluffy, sequin suspenders instead of the arms. She dressed in a very eccentric manner. You'd definitely do a double take if she walked past you, because she looked quite unusual. She was convinced everyone stared at her because she was just too beautiful to look away from. If you're dressed in a very eccentric manner, people probably aren't looking at you because you're attractive. Story 33. What's wrong with believing you are more attractive than you are? It gives you more self-confidence and informs your worldview. Little kids stare at you, stunned by your exotic beauty, ignored by clerks. Jealousy. Beauty is subjective. People who are beautiful on the inside see more beauty in the world around them. Story 34. If you go somewhere and you smile and the person looking back at you doesn't smile back, or at least doesn't perk up and ask you what they can do for you. If you are attractive, people you approach, even from a certain distance, can't help but notice you and look at you as you approach, ignoring everything and everybody else around them. If you are attractive and you approach a smiling receptionist, barista, bartender, checkout attendant, or flight check-in staff, and you smile, their professional fixed smile widens into a more genuine smile. They can't help it. So, it's about the kind of attention you attract from people as you go about your day-to-day life. If you can pass through unnoticed, then you aren't as attractive as you think. No attractive person can pass through unnoticed. Oh, and people remember you the second time they see you if you are attractive. If they don't remember your face, then you just aren't attractive enough.